My name's Charles Cockshoot, Chaz. I'm an Edge Solution Architect in VMware's Service Provider and Telco Business Unit. And I'm here with Steve Conn and Brent from one of the UK police forces. I'll let them talk about that more in a second. Just before we begin, the required disclaimer slide. You'll see in this presentation some product features and functionality that are under development, and it's an overview of new technology. Some features are subject to change, must not be included, and technical feasibility and market demand will affect final delivery. So thanks for listening to that. So as I said, I've got Steve and Brent here from UK Police Force, Sussex and Surrey. And for those of you not familiar with the UK geography, I'll hand over to them and a slide that explains who they are, the services they provide. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. To Office on Wheels, or the mobile edge. Hopefully you saw the police truck outside with the flashing lights and says police on the side. So we touch on the second part of the slides about what that mobile edge means. And Chaz will be coming back up and talking about a bit more detail, but we're just going to give you how things evolved to where we are. So Brent, do you mind telling me a bit about the legacy network? Because Brent, he's my customer. Basically, I'm on the doing side of making things happen, and Brent is operational lead. So I'll let you do a quick introduction.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So thanks. Really great to be in Vegas and all the way from England, a long way away. We did bring the first couple of days of rain, but not last night's rain. It was a bit torrential, so you can't be blamed for that one. I work for Surrey and Sussex, the two joint forces together, and I'm responsible for quite a lot. I look after the data center, which is the compute storage databases, also the network and security, the radios, all the police radios, and also the voice side of things. What we're talking about today is mainly around the SD-WAN side of things. So how did it look before? And we're going to talk about what SD-WAN did for us.
Thank you.
What we found ourselves in a situation was, as you can see on the project over there, we had a lot more live database through our network, so body-worn video, so all officers streaming video from their cameras or uploading the data. It started to cause some problems for us and cause some pinch points. And you can see we started to adopt 365, a lot of rich features during COVID of Teams and all that stuff, and we noticed that there was a lot of the network was breaking, so things weren't going exactly according to plan. And this really wasn't a good place to be as lead operational responsibility for those areas. And those pinch points, we didn't know what was causing it at the time. It was really as if we were blind and stumbling around in the dark. And they actually were affecting police services. So our police officers couldn't actually do their jobs or were slowed down in doing their jobs because those services were having some problems. We also had a service provider that was looking after the network for us before. And I like to say it's kind of like provider denial, where you go to them and say, we've got a problem, and they go, we've had a look, we can't see anything, so yeah, everything's okay from our side. So it was really difficult to work with them to try and solve these problems. So they were really reluctant to change, and it actually forced our hand. We had to buy some really expensive tools, network tools, to go and have a look at our network to try and identify the problem. And we're talking probably hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of equipment to just find out where the problems lay. So that was kind of the before problem statement, I guess. And these are the kind of things that we wanted to achieve by using SD-WAN. So getting better network visibility, lowering the complexity of our environment, and also servicing those 365 things and enabling us to move to the cloud. And obviously, reducing costs is always a good thing, right? If you're working with the public purse. So yeah, that's kind of the problem. Steve, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Brent. Basically, what's happened after that, our project was kicked off, and we pulled a team together of roughly 60 people. And what we actually achieved, we replaced our WAN, our incumbent telco, and rolled out the SD-WAN. And I'm pleased to say we were the first police force in Europe to actually do that. And basically, when COVID kicked off in 2020, when COVID kicked off in 2020, we actually delivered this in 238 working days. So we're really pleased with the way SD-WAN worked. And it was really, I find it's important at the beginning of a presentation to say thank you to the team that actually helped make this happen. It's not one person, I'm just the person who's driving everyone to make this happen. So it's just a thank you to everyone, including VMware, basically it speaks for itself. And of course, Brent, who's my customer. From there, we actually looked at it and said, well, what can it do for us? We've been hit quite hard about cloud services. Everything is being pushed to the cloud. And what we discovered is we couldn't actually support the business requirements. And on Policing 365, that's us all moving to Microsoft 365 to help that. We have body-worn video. Whenever the policeman goes out, they have a little camera and a lapel. And the old legacy network we had with routers and stuff, it couldn't give us the flexibility we need. Because at the edge devices, you have the ability to offload internet traffic at the edge. You don't have to backhaul it, which is really quite powerful. Other things, evidence, for example, we're looking at forensics, looking at how forensics can go out to the site. And we couldn't, again, we just feel like our hands were tied, Brent. I just wonder if, what your thoughts were on the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, what was really important for us was the service and how we ensure that those services, like I said before, were delivered to our office to enable them to do the jobs. And what we discovered was that everything was changing quite quickly. So that means that we were moving to a more cloud-centric environment with a lot of SASE products in the cloud. And we had a network that wasn't really fit for purpose and couldn't actually connect us sufficiently through to those cloud services.
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant, because I remember when we had the project going, you kept saying, can we do this, can we do that? And the thing about the SD-WAN, the answer is yes. For a legacy network, we said, well, we can't actually really support digital forensics or can't support the body-worn video traffic. And we also had on then with operational uplifts, we were turning sites up one a day, and we went out and listened to our customer. And with that information, then on top of that, we I'm converted on SD-WAN. I'm not a salesperson, I'm an end user customer, but it was such a powerful tool. And the other thing, Brent, you were telling me about is how the faults went down. I mean, could you give us an idea how many we had initially and what happened after this?
Well, the real answer is too many. So we had a lot of faults, and the worst thing you have is if you're busy meeting and you get pulled out of it because there's a major outage and you need to address it and speak to your network team leads. But I guess what the SD-WAN delivered was that whole paradigm shift of we're completely blind, we don't know what's running on the network, we don't know what's causing the problem to, it's a miracle, we can see what's on the network. How did that happen, right? So for the first time we had a complete view of what was happening on our entire network. So that was really quite a great place to be where when there was an outage, you could go and pinpoint exactly what was causing it on the entire network. What we got to do then, those expensive tools I told you about earlier, we could go and take those tools and we could put them deep inside our data center, and we could use them to look at what was happening inside our data center and diagnose things in a very better way, so make better use of those expensive toolings. So yeah, the real, and once you can see what's happening in your network, what do you do with that information? And what's really important is you use it, right? So what we did was we identified certain bits of traffic that we didn't know was important, and we prioritized it using SD-WAN, and that enabled those services to be a lot more resilient. There was one key service that was used as part of the command and control for the radios, and we identified some traffic that was keep alive traffic, and those servers kept falling over, and that had been happening for years. We didn't even know about it, and we kind of rectified that and stabilized the whole environment. So that was kind of great and a real much better place to be.
And Brent, before we had SD-WAN, how many faults we getting a day?
We're getting quite a few. I mean, probably about 3 or 4 a day, I'd say. And the actual problem was that when we had our previous partner looking after the network, sometimes we didn't even know we had those faults. So of the ones we knew about, there's probably another double that of stuff that happened that we didn't know about, and we couldn't look back in time as to what those were. So we got better metrics, but the great thing was that the metrics actually improved. So it was difficult to measure something that we healed, right?
And how many faults do we have after we deployed this?
It's pretty much, I'm fighting some wood because I'm in the US at the moment. Pretty much, we have those faults, make no doubt about it. The WAN will go down, but what we do see is that those underlying services that are in there, they don't actually fall over. It is a seamless failover. It's a smooth ride for us. And when those services come back up, nobody notices. Isn't it great?
So it's zero.
Pretty much zero, yeah.
So from there, this just touches on what it actually brought to us. So the big thing on this slide here, we reduced our operational spend by 50% by putting SD-WAN and replacing our WAN. On that one, Brent, I believe we had quite a bit of cost avoidance. I mean, because you mentioned a couple to me in the past.
Yeah, so we got a situation where we were a big Cisco house, and we had a lot of Cisco routers, and I grew up doing CCNA and CCNP, so I love Cisco, but they're really expensive, and we had to refresh all of our WAN, so we cost avoided that WAN refresh, which was approaching about £1 million. So we put.
Let me translate that. Because I have the American accent, that's about $1.5 million. So it's just for you guys. Yeah.
So we put a brand new network in, and it was a better service. So that's the first initial saving. The second saving was around the actual transport layer. So we engaged with a different supplier, and we drove the margins down with that. We saved probably just under, again, £1 million, which translated is?
About $1.1 million.
just within the first year, even excluding the initial outlay, the second, third, and fourth years, which we're in now, we're in the third and fourth year of running SD-WAN, the savings are still racking up, and over a 5-year period, it's really great to be able to have done that, given a bit of service, and as it says on that slide there,
you're stealing my thunder now, Brent. I was going to talk about services, but from our side, we were actually rolling this all out, and we delivered it. And we actually had everyone trained. We even have our service desk going out, because one of the things I believe in is before you hand it to service, get them involved in a project maybe 6 months before with the supplier, so you can make sure when you do hand it over, we can walk away and say we've done the right thing. So to us, everything's about the service. If it's not, you have to look after what the customer needs. So from there, we added resilience by having the MPLS and internet connections. We actually, again, cost reductions, and Brent was talking about the avoidance. That number is a very light touch. It's probably more like 80% savings with G. And the last thing is something I always say to people, take away and think about, because I worked in telcos a long time. And basically, the SD-WAN has been so popular, we're throwing so much at it, it can't become a victim of its own success. So we're actually promoting that you need to look at how you capacity plan future requirements. Without that, bottlenecks going to reappear. So from there, let's hit the button, right? This is, my wife told me how to put the slide up to elevate myself here. So what this is all about is, while we're rolling out the SD-WAN to our different sites, to the branch offices, I had the idea to say, why can't we push this out to a police car? To have, Brent mentioned earlier, office on wheels. We want to be able to give the police the tools they need from the car to spend more time in the public. They can actually have a Wi-Fi hotspot, all works through LTE. We're working with our partner, VMware. It feels more like a family than a partnership, because we're actually really spending really valuable time together on this. And so basically what happened is we laid out some basic requirements, and to actually have a proper office on wheels. If you think about it, I'll let you do the drone bit, because I know you like that one. But you think about it, if you have a Wi-Fi hotspot for laptops, for the body-worn video, you can take existing applications in the car to move it to a unit that can securely upload the information into your network. And the other thing is, a lot of people don't really realize, in the back of a police car, I got some pictures a bit later to show you, there's a lot of bespoke solutions. It's not joined up. So by doing that, we actually improve the service first mentality. We give visibility of our cars. We enable it to be secure and also for information security, put ticks in a box. And the end games of working with VMware is the master plan is fully virtualize the car. So we don't have to keep bringing it back and forth. You're looking at reducing costs by instead of having 12 SIMs in a car down to 2 because you're using the power of the SD-WAN. So basically, I call it my baby because I just thought of the idea and everyone's behind me to make this happen. I mean, Brent, was there anything I could add on this one?
I'll mention very quickly around the drone side. So there's a lot of user cases, and then the drone side is probably something for the future that we look to do. So what we want to do there is enable our office to be able to police better. Currently what we do is if there's a problem and we need to have some aerial coverage, whether it's at night or during the day, we call out helicopters. And you know how expensive helicopters are to get up in the air, right? So we probably be spending a couple of grand just to get it up in the air, and then you pay per hour. So one helicopter call out's probably going to set you back 10 to 15,000 pounds.
Don't ask me to translate that.
It's a lot of money anyway. So what the officers do when they can't sometimes even get a helicopter called out, they send up these big drones. But we haven't really provided a good way to consume that service for them. So what they end up doing is taking their cell phones and tethering their laptops to that, and then the laptop connects to the drone, and then they want to stream the footage back to the command and control. So what actually ends up happening is they make a Skype video call back to the command and control and tethering to their phones connected to the drone. It's crazy, isn't it? How can we make that easier? Can we set up a mobile office, just like any other office that can drive around? They can park somewhere with the drone, pop the drone up, connects through the car, and is able to stream that video straight back. Is that a better way to do it? So that would be the next thing that we want to do once we've got all of that in. So there's a vision that we have to enable more things like that and even much better savings on other services. So enabling the policing, driving down the cost.
Back to providing the service to our police, which is, end of the day, they have a hard enough job. And if we can make their life a bit easier, you know, we're really looking forward to making this happen with VMware. So this picture here, I'll talk through it. Just we want to show you is basically what's the back of a car. And the picture in the middle, there's still bits missing. So behind that back bit, there's more equipment stuck back there as well. So if you look at the picture, we have things like telematics for how the car, you brake and stuff because this helps reduce our insurance costs. We have equipment in there for the matrix boards, for the computer it's in there for the on screen, you know, in the car, the information screen. We have equipment in there for automatic number plate recognition. We have a radio, and all this stuff here consumes power, adds weight, and it's just really, everything is bespoke. And what we're actually aiming for is from moving it from the plywood to the car, to that picture on the end, to have just a single edge device in there. So from there, I won't read through the slides, but the bottom line is that everything's bespoke again, non-standard, and it's really difficult to fix. And what we're doing is trying to bring everything together to turn around faults if they do happen, or not do, when they do happen. How about you, Brent? Anything you want to add to this?
I think you covered it all. Thanks, Steve.
Oh, thanks, Brent. So from there, we'll let, before Chaz, just to give you a feel again, that's his picture I showed you back of a car blown up. And that one in the middle is the car with the LTE and the Wi-Fi. And the picture on the right, we like the dog, so we put the dog picture in there. But you can look back at the boot, the trunk, you can see the, sorry. I've been in the UT for a very long time, so I get confused every once in a while. But you can see how we're going to start ripping stuff out to make it more friendly. So Chaz, would you like to join the party?
I would.
Okay.
I think we can briefly finish there. So thank you, and that's Steve and Brent. And as you can see here on the left-hand side, I always call that a and every time an engineer's got to put something back in, they've got to work out where to do and what to take out. So a few slides on the mobile edge solution. I would encourage you, I'll say it now, go and see it on the show floor if you haven't. We've got it there. got to 1:30, it's a big police truck, you can't miss it. We did have to turn the lights off because it was blinding all the other stand owners. We got 5 minutes at the beginning. But back on the script. Yeah, key thing here, there's two things we're doing in terms of technology. If you look at the left-hand side, what we're doing, Steve mentioned, between 6, 12 individual connections in a police car, whether that's a fixed piece of hardware or an MDT, mobile
data terminal.
Or phones, as we call them.
That's a British translation there, isn't it?
Translation. So each of those, laughing aside, each of those is, got variable connectivity, it's got a different service contract, it may drop in and out. So the first thing we've done is taken the SD-WAN technology, and as you can, I'll dive into a bit of detail on the next slide, but focused on aggregating connectivity. So if we can provide resilient connectivity, and I'll drill into how we're doing it on the next slide, for that office on wheels, provide a Wi-Fi bubble around it so that devices, whether they're hardwired, virtual or whatever, can access that. That's solving the first problem. And also linking to the first part of the presentation, it means it's under the same management control.
Yeah.
So you know your data.
Single pane of glass, yeah.
Single pane of glass, and you know that your same security model, your data's secure, it's not going out on random connections over the public internet. The second part of this is what VMware is quite well known for, is app consolidation, virtualization. Taking those devices you saw in the prior photos and virtualizing them. Because a lot of them are single use. So the picture with the dog that we all love, that's from Mobile World Congress, and we'll talk about the partner in a bit, but they do license plate recognition. So they've got a dedicated box that's running a database and some kind of web server that's sending information up to their control center. In reality, it's a Windows instance. It doesn't need to be a dedicated box. It's because that was the architecture possible. So again, if we can consolidate those, we can reduce more and more, we can make more of the operational space available in the car. And that kind of sums up, the 3 bullets at the bottom, which I'm sure you can read, but it's around, opening up new use cases. It's around allowing that data that's collected to get up into case systems, get into evidence systems quicker, so you can actually serve it. The modernization is key. There's a broader thing here around standardization. And we're not just driving this solely VMware, we're working with partners, we're working with the fleet management. But the less wiring you can put in there, the more you can standardize on power over Ethernet and others, the easier it is to swap in and out, and again, more time for that vehicle to be on the road. And the last one is ESG, which stands for Environmental, Social and Governance. So that's really about having that officer in the community more. It's around there being less fuel, less wastage, and less time. So,
yeah, I flipped it for you.
Thank you. So just 2 more slides from me, and then we'll talk about the use case. So the architecture, really, as I've said, I've covered a little bit of this. So on the connectivity side, we're using SD-WAN, and we're aggregating 2 providers. So 4G or 5G, aggregating that to give best service, and where we've got good connection from both of them, maximum bandwidth. So the maximum bandwidth supports that data upload, the body-worn cameras, for instance, so they don't have to dock it back at base, the pertinent information. We're doing that all week on the stand.
Also, Chaz, we can, with SD-WAN, we can actually set policies up and say live streaming has a higher priority than just uploading data. So the power of the SD-WAN has a lot of features that can bring to this.
You saw that, may have seen that in Sanjay's keynote, how this will evolve. It allows you to start doing slicing, doing prioritization, because the data is always going to be there and it's got to get up in the second bit. It's just worth noting, if you're a telco out there, we are also been running tests about dual connections from a single carrier. We think this is viable. When you're traveling at 90 miles an hour, and I don't have to translate that one, you're jumping between cell towers. Our testing has shown that it makes sense to have multiple connections. Some of the cards support this on a single card. Sometimes you need a couple of cards, but they'll support multiple connections and allow the hopping.
And, sorry, Chaz. And also, when we did that initial test run, you were quite impressed by the results. When we went around the countryside and on the motorways.
Yeah, absolutely. Good throughput from both, and I recommend not looking down at a laptop in the back of a police car for 3 hours, because you might get motion sick. That's another story. So the second part is the app aggregation. As you can see there, we're using Edge Compute Stack virtualization, and it allows us to support, be it a VM, containers, or connecting, as I said, on a PoE apps into a single piece. So again, bringing the best of two pieces. And just to sum up where this sits in the broader scheme of things, as I said, this is part of VMware's edge portfolio, and it's really all about providing what you need at the near and far edge in terms of compute and infrastructure. The associated services, we've talked about SD-WAN and SASE here, but there's also private 5G, which we think is very appropriate for the emergency services. You could be connected in your offices or bases or big event-type stadium and then connecting so we can provide. And also that AI and ML, every slide needs one of those, so every presentation. But really it's about giving you those platforms, giving you the orchestration and the management to run your applications.
Thanks,
Before I
Chaz.
hand back, talk about the use case with our partner, JENOPTIK, who provided the car.
Thank you, Chad. I mean, basically what we have is just one example. We'll touch on JENOPTIKs, but other use cases, body-worn video is quite a big one. Well, Motorola is another big one when it comes to, sorry, not Motorola. It's Motorola when it comes to in-car CCTV. Motorola wants to maintain their key skills around video, but they want our help with VMware to get the data out the car. So this edge device is really going to become quite a powerful tool. So JENOPTIKs provides we have a couple suppliers in the UK. JENOPTIK is one of them that provides the automatic number plate recognition. We just want to give you a bit of a rough idea of how it works. I think it's pretty obvious how it works. I mean, in a nutshell, we have cameras on the car, and we get cameras all around the different parts of the motorways. And if they pick up a plate that's sort of tagged, it can actually provide the information back and report it to the police in the cars, and off they go. I mean, Brent, you want to raise anything on this one? I mean, it sounds easy, but there's a lot of equipment and processes and laws around this. But I'm just wondering from an operations side, you don't have any visibility at the moment, really.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious thing is the time slicing. So like Sandra said, how quickly can we get the information to the officers? If that information can be delivered into the police car and updated via a good aggregated SD-WAN link, the information is more available. The systems can talk to each other and update themselves a lot better. So if there's a hit on a plate that is a murder suspect or something, that means they won't get away. They'll be picked up, the police will chase them down, stop them and arrest them. And it does translate exactly to that. If we miss an ANPR hit, there are some serious crime that may occur. So the timing of it is quite important for us to get the information as quickly as we can to the police officer to react quickly.
I mean, it's just one example. I mean, again, body-worn video. Oh, you think about emergency services with the ambulance, about having the ability to feed stuff back into the consultants that actually support them. So the key message here is that we will have a tool in that car to have data back into our network securely. And I think it's probably one of the biggest things. And being on the orchestrator, the management platform of SD-WAN, we can have visibility of where the cars are, if the edge devices are having problems with connectivity. So one of the things that we ask to have it fully integrated into the SD-WAN. So it's just another item you buy off a shelf. And one thing that we really pushed hard, and VMware has been very supportive, it had a vanilla off the shelf that any police force, any blue light customer can use around the world. So you've probably got loads of your own user cases. So from there, I just want to give you a feel for who's involved in this. On the right side, you see us with our COVID mask on. And what happened there, when I had the idea about let's put it in a car, I said, well, let's make sure it can work. So we actually took a inverter from 12 to 240. We used 240 in the UK instead of 110. We strapped a 510 LTE, put one SIM card in there. We tagged a body-worn video camera to it and went down the motorway. And all I can say, we're traveling at speed with the blue lights on, streaming live video back in command and control. So that's how it all kicked off. So on the top left side, the middle one is just the initial requirements that we talked about earlier. Got, 2 LTE connections, a third lead for the auxiliary on the 12-volt systems, So we actually just spent a lot of time with you guys, but the team, of course, we have Brent, I have to mention him first because he's on stage with me. We have Joseph, the product lead, Raghu, CEO, and Gavin Lee, who's one of our sales support engineers. Below, Sanjay and I did a video at the MWC, so it's on YouTube if you want to learn a bit more about it as well. So it's, as I said, I'll put on another set of slides, PP. And what happened was I had this chat with someone and they said to me, we're behind you, Steve, 100%. I said, no, this is a VMware employee. I said, well, no, you're not behind me. We're beside each other to make this happen. And it's a true partnership. Is how it feels to us. So from there, while we talk about all this technology, it's important to note that it's not about the technology, it's about the service. It's about the outcomes that we provide to our customers. So when this is sort of, Brent gets tired of me saying this all the time, service first, but it's what it's all about. You have any views on that one, Brent?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's really important to get the service right and to do that service to the police force. I think one of the key things that we're looking to do now is to take that SD-WAN that we've put in all of our police stations in Surrey and Sussex counties and to now extend it out. So we've got about 100 sites in those two counties. What it actually means is we're going to have mobile office on wheels and we're going to add another 1,000+ sites mobilely traveling around the country. That's really exciting, isn't it? That means our officers can spend more time doing the job. They don't have to go back into the office and dock their stuff. And it's all about bringing that intelligent and stable network to the office on wheels. And that's the key thing for me.
Thanks, Brent. And basically, here's the survey. So I hope you give us 10 out of 10. I hope my translations from English to American worked okay. So from here, we just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to us. Because we're very passionate about it, and we feel it's a game changer for policing around the world. And let's go back one. So basically, it's really time to let you guys quiz us. So if you have any questions, anybody, I think there's a microphone in the middle of the room to put you on the spot. But if you have any questions, we can be down on the floor. You can chat to us. We have about another 12 odd minutes. Thanks, Brent. 12 odd minutes to left, but please, we're here to help. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your time, everybody.
Question. Now that you've got SD-WAN in the police cars, are you potentially going to radio for voice communications and use voice over IP in there? Or are you looking at doing something like moving software-defined radio with the edge compute?
There's a
I'll let you start on that.
It's been quite challenging, and they're doing a UK-wide switchover from the normal radios that we have and switching to, like you said, the mobile side of things. So that's not quite there. That is absolutely going to come. It plays in nicely to what we're doing. So when we do get the mobile edge in the cars, those mobile devices or cell phones, that they will be able to connect to that Wi-Fi if they're in a bad area and have the radio functionality extended out. So, yeah, really good question. Thanks for asking that.
And just a bit more on top of that, we're rolling out in the UK, we have a thing called Airwaves. And it's the old traditional radio they have up on their lapel. And then we're rolling out a new radio that has a Wi-Fi, they call it Wi-Fi OTAP, a feature they can actually talk to a Wi-Fi connection and move data, updates. So our office on wheels, they don't have to go back to HQ or a site. So it's actually going to complement it as well.
Yeah, so we'll update all the radios with settings or firmware updates. And it just keeps the officers on the road. They don't have to bring their radios in to be updated or reprogrammed or whatever. So
and also
really good points.
And also managing the inventory of them as well.
Yeah.